happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Zima. Ooh. Zima.
Steve, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's an abortion of a movie that's about to be made that they're ripping us. I mean, they're just trying to rape our nostalgia, and just really rape our childhood. I'd like to say, I saw the preview for the White Men Can't Jump remake or whatever you want to call this fucking nonsense, and I don't know. I'd like first of all, I'd just like to know who they think they are. Like, I want an explanation as to who's the decision maker, because that guy needs to be strung up right now. I don't like this, dude.
Yeah, they just can't leave our childhood alone, man.
It doesn't make
saw that shit.
sense.
Yeah,
Like,
they really don't.
the people who love that movie, like our age or older, or even like younger, that found it, you like it because it's good. And it's not going to get worse. Like, you can go back and it's just fun to watch, you know? You Anybody young enough to like want to see the new shit makes a basketball movie and call it something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know who the fuck Jack Harlow is. I don't even know who they got playing Wesley Dean. I couldn't pay attention enough to like really clock anything. I just sort of I blacked out. As soon as they started shit talking Spike Lee in it, I was like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, it's Sequa Walls. That's the guy's name.
Good luck. Good luck to both of you guys. And it's not your fault. I don't fault the actor. I don't know if Jack Harlow is an actor. Whatever. He's a rapper.
He's a rapper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he is. I'm sure. But I'm not a fan, Steve, and I'm not a fan of a lot of remakes. Maybe some you can get away with, and I'm not going to turn a cheek. But what I saw displayed in that fucking trailer, it was almost like one of those videos, like of a football fan just destroying a TV. There was almost like that primal of a reaction to it. I couldn't stand it.
Well, you can't replicate the chemistry that Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes has, man, because they were already performing in movies. For one thing, they're actors.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the Sync with Walls, brother, but I do know Jack Harlow has a rap background, and this might be his first starring vehicle in a movie.
Is he good at basketball? Is that it? They're like, hey, man, you could shoot a jump. You got a nice jump shot, man.
He's from Kentucky. Kentucky, I mean, basketball is law there, so I don't know.
All right. Well, you know what? Like you said, you've been trying to be positive, and I'm trying, man. But this, I mean, you might as well throw in Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone 20 or whatever and have him fucking walking around like that shit in The Critic we saw the other day.
Ah!
I mean, this shit isn't. I'd rather watch that.
Well, I got enough shit on our list today to ride down. But I'm going to do it in a positive light.
Yeah. We'll do it with a smile, Steve, because that makes all the difference, apparently. But whoever it is that's making this abomination, they're just calling it White Men Can't Jump. I don't get it. Is it legal? Can we get this shit stopped, Steve? I mean, start a petition, man.
The house party, like, that just was released is produced by LeBron James. By all accounts, that's a hot crocking pile of shit.
It's just, can't we just go back and just enjoy what we have? It's there. It's a cult classic for a reason. You remake it. It's not like they can't even say like some of the shit. I mean, it doesn't make the people now. I guess I don't know, Steve. Maybe that we were too dumb. Like movies, it was like, yeah, sure, Rosie Perez, yeah, she's gonna win Jeopardy for no because she's been studying books randomly naked in a hotel room. She's gonna win Jeopardy because of that. Fuck a scientist. She's gonna win it. We didn't question that at all. It was the side tit. He had us blinded.
What? What? What is a quince?
Quince.
Billy, you say you let me? No, Rosie, it's a no-go. No Rosie, no Sydney, no Billy Ho. It's a no-go. No Alex Trebek? What the fuck?
And I'll tell you what, if there's any sort of like where they throw fucking Wesley and they throw him in there as like some old dogs just giving him like a shout out. Fuck all that. I want to die, Steve. I want to die from this movie. Kill me. I'll be the sacrifice to stop the madness of whatever the fuck is going on in Hollywood, where they're like, you know what? I don't feel like making an original idea. So let me look at my VHS tapes from back in the day. How about we remake this one? This one was good.
I bet the soundtrack's actually not bad. I saw some of the featured players in the soundtrack for this Hoppa shit. Why do I keep saying Hoppa shit?
I don't care. It is a Hoppa shit. Fuck
it's
it.
It's a Hoppa shit.
It is.
Hoppa shit.
I'm gonna pop a shit in the theater somewhere, wherever I'm at when that movie comes out. I'm gonna fucking just take a big fucking shit someplace.
If you watch the movie, that movie's shit in your mouth with a hop of shit. We're not going to make YouTube standards ever. I think they're supposed to like not cuss within 15 minutes. That's what I hear. That's what they say on No Jumper. And No Jumper, they are kind of like up there in the echelon.
Yeah. Well, maybe we got to keep that in mind. In this episode, I can't bleep that much, Steve.
Too late. It's something I want to touch on. I thought we were covering the Urkel episode that basically kept him a job. That episode was actually Laura's First Date, which was Urkel's first appearance. The one that we covered, I still like that one. But the one that we missed, December 15th, 1989, and that's why we missed it, because this is a 90s show. And I forget that show started in the 80s, like, late 89.
Yeah, I mean, but can you call a show that was on for 1 year in that decade an 80s show? You know what I mean? Like, that was a 90s show.
Oh, I mean, what we know of that show is 90. So like all the shit from 89, whenever it starts, like September 89 to December, it was just matters of the fact, like very like innocent shit. Like Carl goes on his class reunion and yeah, everybody's
I don't fit in my old suit, Harriet. Damn.
Yeah. Like the Urk man, like I said, he didn't get introduced until December 15th. And so like that's when the real shit kicks off. So like he brought us into the 90s, like, all right, take the reins from here, kid.
We got to get something new. We got to spice it up for this new decade. And I mean, boy, did they ever.
Yeah, to keep it from a hop of shit. But, it as it went on and continued, it was starting to turn into a hop of shit. Like I remember he had a gangster ass cousin that visited, and Urkel was out of town for some science trip or whatever the fuck. And then the guy's name was OG the O-Dog or some shit. I can't remember.
God, dude.
He had on these fucking...
Well, you're there long enough, it's going to sour up. There's going to be a couple of misses, Roddy Piper showed up in blackface, but 99% of his career, we loved it.
He jumped the shark and I guess came back in some way. Just like Family Matter, they jump sharks and cocaine bears.
Give me a hell yeah!
Here's to the crazy ones, the rebels, the troublemakers, the ones who see things differently. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
So, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Emmett Smith jerseys and your Air Jordan 9s, because I get around. Bop, 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 bop. Round and round, round and go. Bop, 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 bop. The underground just don't stop for hoes. Get around. Pop, 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 pop. Round and round, round we go.
Hits from the 90s as done by Steve G, the lyrical genius.
Is it? Today, my friend, we're talking about all things February 16th in the 90s. Starting off in 1990, Courage Mountain premiered in theaters. In this version of Heidi, a young Swiss girl is sent off to boarding school at the beginning of World War I, directed by some asshole, starring Charlie Sheen and some other fucking people we don't care about.
Charlie, they let that
Charlie,
monster in this shit?
yeah, and the critics even
Heidi.
commented on the casting choice. Just Charlie Sheen and a retake of fucking Heidi. Look in this fucking douchebag. What the fuck? Is this a civil war?
Hey, you want to go bang behind that tree? What the fuck, dude? What was going on? These kind of movies, I've never seen any of it. The Sound of Music, any of this shit. Fuck it all,
No.
Steve. You could throw that in the trash.
Papa shit.
Yeah. That's a dictionary definition right there. Charlie Sheen's coked up in some kind of weird World War I uniform. Who was he fighting for? Fucking Algeria?
pussy.
What the fuck?
I have to save these 12-year-olds for me.
Tiger blood. Let me dude. Charlie, you have a Coke donut on your nose. Let's clear that up. Rolling.
Yeah.
Winning.
Yeah. This hop of shit made a whopping 1.4 million.
Hey, that's 2.4 million these days. Wow. But here's the thing. He's in this, but he's also in like a Platoon. He's in fucking a Hot Shots. This guy's got range, but I don't know sometimes why you.
Sure.
He does, Steve. City Hall.
Oh, really? City Hall? Oh, we'll get to some City Hall. Yeah, I'll talk to you about some City fucking Hall, buddy.
Fucking do
And-
not say shit about fucking Hot Shots 1 or Part 2 or fucking
Okay.
Major League 1 or Part 2, Steve.
Well, Major League's my favorite sports movie of all time.
Hell
This
yeah.
hop of shit is probably one of the worst movies ever made, not just in 1990, but of all time, of the whole decade. Heidi, the original, blew ass and sucked dingalings. I just don't know why they had the need to remake this shit in 1990.
Duh. Winning.
Like, who gives a fuck about that shit?
Yeah, who was like, you know what we need another one of? World War I drama. What the fuck?
Those are the same fuckers who
Get me
dress up in
Sheen.
Civil
Get
War.
me Martin Sheen. We can't. Estevez? Nah, he's busy. Give me Charlie. Fuck.
Fucking hate
Duh. Winning.
it. I hate it. Kill it with fire, Jesus.
Jesus.
That same day, speaking of hops of shit, Madhouse premiered in theaters. The luxurious villa of yuppie couple Mark and Jesse Bannister is overrun by loads of uninvited guests who turn the house upside down and nearly destroy it. Directed by Tom Ropolowski, starring John Larroquette, Kirstie Alley, Alison LaPlaca, John Deal, and Dennis Miller, babe.
Hey, babe. Get off my couch, babe. You know, this just sounds like this sounds like the movie Bachelor Party, but with a house. That Danny McBride?
That's Dan
It's
Felding.
Larroquette.
Yeah, that's Larroquette, and Kirstie Alley plays his wife. And I saw this hop of shit. It's available on YouTube for your pleasure. And look at this fucking mullet that won't go away.
Oh, ouch. Hey, babe. Leave it on
This-
the back, babe.
Yeah, this is actually his first movie.
Did he pull that hair out of that porta-john that he's standing next to? Is that where he got the wig? Or that's yeah. Is that Yamir Yager or Dennis Miller? I can't tell, Steve.
Marty Friedman. Ah! Like, it's just unbearable. It's basically like, okay, they're a well-off couple, and like the plot says, they have these uninvited guests. It's Kirstie Alley's sister and her kids. And like they have these just fucking bratty ass kids. The daughter like wants to fuck John Larroquette, and that's odd. And then like John Larroquette's cousins come in town, and they're like trash, and like they have no backbone. That's what really pisses me off. Like it basically like these people take over their houses as if police like don't exist, and they're just getting pushed over all around, getting their house taken over, holes blown up in their fucking walls and ceilings and shit. And they're like, well, just like, well,
What
when
are
are me
you
and my
gonna
wife?
do? It's family.
Yeah. Fuck that shit. Fuck family.
Yeah, dude.
Me and my wife. When are we gonna get to have sex? Like it's that kind of energy the whole time. Like,
So it's
bro,
like
this is your
Problem
house.
Child, but it's more shitty people, and they never they never like stand up. So what's the end of it? They just kick the people out. It takes 2 hours for them to kick people out of their house.
Oh, after 2 hours plus of watching this hunk of garbage, finally, John Larroquette has a backbone. He realizes he has a penis. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go crazy. Basically, these people they allow them to bring them to craziness. Kirstie Alley and John Larroquette, they're just like, okay, now, so they burn up the house, and they're just like, well, fuck it. Like, do you care about the money or do you care about love? And they just make that kind of sappy deal. Like they basically had their house ruined by these people. And just like, at least we got us. Get the
Oh my
fuck out of here.
god. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of
You
here.
need like a Tom Hanks to pull this shit out of the fucking ground, at least to be serviceable. Because it almost sounds like that movie, The Money Trap, where they buy a house and it just like tears them apart. But they're also mixed with like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where they have just like shitty people in their house all the time. I don't like this, but there was a lot of this. There was a lot of like
Yeah.
parents getting like fucked with by the kids. Like there's a movie with what's the guy from Three's Company that's dead? Steve, I'm sorry, I fucking forgot.
John Ritter.
John Ritter. He's it's called like Remote Control, and him and his wife go into
Yep.
like a that it has the same fucking cover as this, and it's a much better movie about a wacky family that hates each other that comes together at a certain point, you know?
Yeah, it's a much better movie. I remember Remote Control.
That shit was
And
fire, actually. We need to
yeah.
watch that at some point.
Remote Control, this is not. And John Larroquette, he actually put in extra work. He was doing this while he was doing Night Court. Like he would like just open his weekends up to doing this. Like he would spend the week doing Night Court, and like he would spend the weekend having like countless sleepless nights doing this pile of shit. And I know now he wish he could get all of his sleep back from this.
He got some coke or like some kind of drug money out of this. That's what the check was for, Steve. He's like, look, I already got everything covered. I do Madhouse a couple of weekends. I got enough money to fucking buy that big ass brick that guy showed me at his house the other day. The uncut, that dream crack rock.
A brick was required to fucking do this movie, man. And speaking of bricks, in 1990, on that same day, Ike Turner is sentenced to 4 years in prison for possession of cocaine.
Who is Ike?
Hey, do the song, Annie. Yeah, that Ike. He was high on coke right here, and he was high on coke right here.
Damn, I love like that Ike Turner though. What a look! The Robin Hood as a black dude look. That's great.
Wow,
that's great. The bowl, that's almost like the bowl cut I had, Steve. His top shit.
He's like
he's
like a Black Beetle.
He does, dude.
It's
But
Paul, John, George, Ringo, and fucking Ike.
He was making Tina roll down a river with that fucking backhand for a while.
And Mary wasn't proud.
Yeah, so the look fire. I don't like that little choke chain shit he has on though. That's kind of you know how they were back in the 70s, Steve.
Man, when them old school dudes have those kind of mustaches, don't fuck with them.
Nah.
Like, because they are not to be played with.
Yeah, he has like he has a look in his eye though that he looks like he's wanting the camera guy to say some shit. He's like,
I'm crazy.
Please.
Yeah,
I need a reason.
Yes. Somebody who probably didn't watch that piece of hop of shit, Madhouse on 1990, is probably Canadian singer The Weeknd, because he was born that songwriter and producer.
What do you think of the weekend, Steve? You into it? I'm into
I
it.
think he's I think he's dope, man.
I like the videos. And I mean, some of his songs straight up get me pumped when I'm working out. It's like epic shit, you know. It's not necessarily like hardcore, but some of those beats and some of that, I don't know, it's fire. I'm into it.
Cause girl, you're worth it. Always working.
And he's got like some showmanship to him. Like he did like he has like a special out, I think now it's like a concert that they're putting on HBO or some shit that looks fucking trippy as fuck. Like if you took some drugs and went to a weekend show, it looked like it'd be a great time.
Oh yeah, dude. I would love to see a weekend show. I'm sure like it's not just the music, the performance, but I bet he puts on a spectacle, dog.
Well, dream. Let's do it, Steve. I'm gonna find some weekend tickets.
I'm gonna find a bank to rob. But in 1991, SNL is airing the episode with musical guest Delight and your host Roseanne Barr.
Dan.
And Tom Arnold, because they were inseparable at this time. You couldn't see one without the other. And they have like this Sally Jesse Raphael skit, and she's confronting them about their public behavior around this time. And what was great was when they're showing footage of the public behavior, it's replayed and retold with Chris Farley as Tom Arnold,
Yep.
and Roseanne is played by Victoria Jackson. And when they cut back to Tom Arnold, he's like, "No, that wasn't me. I could never wear a sweater like that." It's just like, and then they just like at the end of like the retelling and at the end of like Tom Arnold talking or whatever, they'll just end up making out. Like, yeah, I would never make a sweater like that.
I just remember the one where they cut immediately. You know, it was like on a weekend update, and Chris Farley was playing Tom Arnold, and his ass came out and shit. Like at the
Yeah.
end, Dennis was like, "Did I just see the new guy's asshole?"
Right. That's awesome, man. And then
Dude.
they also did a Misery retake, man, with Dana Carvey being pressured to go back to church. Because I get at this point he had retired church lady, and Roseanne comes in as the Kathy Bates character. She's like, "No, you're going to do it again. You're going to be the church lady. Don't say it. Isn't that special?" Oh man,
I mean,
she did her thing, man. I got to say, Roseanne, you did your thing.
I mean,
John Lovitz, he just makes cameos.
he's there. He's still there. He's loving it. Roseanne makes me laugh, Steve. I don't like she's not like one of my tops, but I like an outrageous person. I liked what she was doing back in the 90s, just being a shit starter and just,
Yeah.
doing what the fuck she wanted. I love that shit.
She's a trailblazer, man. I popped my collar to her. But in 1993, Full House. Yes, we're revisiting the Tanner household again. They're airing season 6, episode 17, Silence is Not Golden. When Stephanie is paired with a classmate she hates for a school project, she finds out that his father is beating him and is sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, this is a very special ep, Steve. Um, got a couple of questions at the end here about the the exposition, but as we get started, it's pretty much stat quo in the Tanner household. Everybody's having a good time. Very Mayberry situation. Michelle's a little older than the last time we saw her. Still cute. She's got her buddy Denise with her hanging out.
Future
And
star.
oh yeah, she was actually in. I didn't realize until Kendra pointed it out to me today that HBO show with
Lovecraft Country.
Yeah, and she was looking great in that and awesome in that. But they're hanging out, Michelle and Denise, and this got me in trouble. Not in the same way, but we find out that Michelle's kind of she's grown up a little bit, Steve. There's a show they
She's a
like.
menace.
Yep, and they're watching Funny Buddies, and this kid show has a 1-900 joke line that you can call. Get the parents' permission, call it, you get a joke. Denise was like, "Man, my parents would never let me call that because it costs so much." And Michelle's like, "I got you. I asked my dad for permission. We're good to go." And Denise is like, oh, damn, that's crazy. And she's like, Michelle, the little fucking conniver she is, got a little magnetic energy in her. She's like, I asked him when he was vacuuming. So he didn't really know what the fuck he was agreeing to, but we're good. So they start calling, dude. They're running up a tab already, Steve. These jokes, they're expensive, you know.
And they're corny jokes. They're corny 90s jokes, but they're kids. They don't know no better. They don't know what funny is. Then we cut to that Miller Boyette shit.
Bam, 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 bam. Yeah.
And yeah, man. Now Stephanie's in class, and it's her two friends, the two Jennifers. One of them played by Topanga, who's fine. Well, yeah, she would grow on to be fine. She's a kid now in this, but
she's a very pretty young girl in this episode.
Topanga, yeah, who's actually older than us. Even in this show, she was. Yeah. But yeah, the two Jennifers, they're wearing the same Blossom shirts. And Charles walks in and he immediately lays into him. That's all he knows, apparently, getting laid into. But Charles is just like, three people, one brain, no personality.
He's a little mini Dice Clay, dude. He's fucking just cracking on people, which I do love, but this kid's a nightmare. I mean, he eventually starts just he'll crack on a fucking adult. He don't give a fuck. He's like, hey, ugly. Like, what, dude? Oh.
He's like a little Dangerfield. Hey.
Hey, no. Danny, where's your wife so she can suck my cock? I gotta go do homework with your daughter. I'm going upstairs. Bye.
Yeah, keep the door closed, too. And then the teacher, Miss Patterson, there's a lot of like acting, like actor sharing on these TGIF episodes, because Mrs. Patterson, played by Susan Krebs, is also Miss Steuben on Family Matters, being a teacher.
You got to reuse them, Steve. You got to shoot. They had to there's only so many hours you can shoot a kid out in Hollywood. So you got to you're like, hey, get that teacher from this thing, bring her over here, So I get it. And Charles, he can't turn this gift of just def comedy jamming people off. It's constant. He's a class clown. I was similar in some ways to him. There's like to the teachers, I wasn't cracking on the students as much, but he's killing it in that regard. But this all leads to the teacher of the class being like, you know what? You guys gave me a good idea. Everybody has to write a report about a partner, and I'm partnering Stephanie and the next Crackdown comic, Charles, here together. You guys are going to work together so you can get over all this bullshit, because I got a class to teach.
I get no respect, I tell you. And then I don't know if you caught this, but the little harmonica thing that plays out was the Roseanne harmonica deal.
Really?
Like after Stephanie gets paired with Charles, she turns around and then the little so there's a lot of TGIF. There you go. Gotta make it boisterous. So there's a lot of TGIF infusion. Denise.
I love it.
Now we're at the kitchen. Is Uncle Jesse, Steve, DJ, Kimmy, and Joey walks in with Nikki and Alex. And I don't know who this was. I don't know if it was you. I remember somebody in Perrysburg that has this gripe about Nikki and Alex. I'm like, what the? They're babies, not the babies. What the fuck?
I don't have a gripe, but they had gigantic. They have like a fucking gigantism head in these episodes. So I'm worried like maybe they live too close to some power lines, or I don't know, maybe Jesse's hair product got into the womb or some shit and fucked them up. But yeah. What I love about this scene that we're in now is, one, Michelle and I always want to call her D-Nice just because I'm looking at it, but Denise they're just running a tab up. And I love, this is something you do as a kid where you're just like not really cognizant of repercussions. So you're like, I mean, nobody's going to find out. They're not getting this money from me when I call. So this is gone. This is a perfect crime. So that's happening.
Those titties.
Well, dude, if you call 1-800 fucking fat chicks, you can fucking talk to a chick. It doesn't matter. They're never gonna find out.
They just want to talk
$7,000
to you.
later and a couple of nut busts, you're in some shit. But Michelle and Denise are racking those up. And then we find out Jesse, who's looking just ridiculous. I just don't like Jesse. I don't like a guy like this in my house. There's a lot of weird. He
He's
just
too
looks.
pretty.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
You
dude,
make me
stop.
uncomfortable. You're gonna
Yeah.
take all the bitches all the time. Like, get away from me.
If I'm
we can't be
Danny, I'm like,
friends.
dude, I'm single too. Like, I got it. Like, even if you give me one of the people that you turn away, like, I don't stand up to what you are. Like, I can't
There's-
live up to this.
Even if I get your residuals, they're still gonna fucking talk about your pretty ass.
They're gonna say
hate
your name when I'm fucking them, and while it just hurts a little. Okay, so, but he comes out of the basement, which I would keep him down there too. And the funny thing is here, and we meet Steve also, a Steve that it's DJ's Steve. It's her forever love. He's up for here always. But Steve's a high school student. Jesse trying to graduate night school. They're basically at the same education level, and that's sad. Makes me a little sad. They both have to read Catcher in the Rye, and they come up with the dumbest of plans. I'll read half, you read half, we'll reconvene. It's like, guys, just fucking watch the movie, which I think Gibbler says, but that's my advice, Steve.
Yeah, and Denise and Michelle walk in telling their corny, funny buddy jokes. And what caught me was Joey doing his Jay Leno impression, and he said, "You can catch them at Zany down in Sandusky, Ohio." And I remember this episode like, whoa,
Dude,
fucking represent, Joey.
I live
Yeah,
there,
baby.
dude.
Yeah, what you know?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, they're right there. Chris Rock pays for some jokes too. So I mean, if Michelle and Denise can get on that right track, they're right there. They're paying for the material. You might as well use it. But right now, all they got are the people in the kitchen who are just sort of politely laughing.
That shit
but
you got to
still.
do with little kids because they ain't funny.
Yeah.
I take that back. Kids can be funny, especially when they cuss, and that still makes me laugh because I don't have kids. So cuss on kids.
I like that. I definitely like a kid that cusses. But
Should be funny.
what I like as somebody just watching, if it comes to me, I don't like it because it does. I mean, it can just cut you to the core. But when you see a kid say something that to them means nothing, but they're like, it's just like a fucking slice through the heart and just cut somebody, and they're like, yeah, like like a fat person like you, and it's like you just like, oh, you see the soul leave an adult from some just a casual throwaway thing a kid says. I mean, I love that. That's great.
They can cut through bone.
Yeah, so that's happening. Jesse and Steve come to this dumbass agreement, and and it is what it is. Jesse, you're going to night school, so just show up. Okay, you're gonna get a piece of paper. Just pay the fucking bill. Later, Stephanie and Charles come back to the house because they got to do this. Are we not there yet?
Well, Stephanie walks in with Danny, who picked her up from school, and she's giving her the rundown on her project, saying, like, I got assigned to do this project with this kid in my class that I abhor. Even the class rabbit bit him. And class rabbits, they're always pussies. They're the most non-threatening. There's like snails and then class rabbits. They're like biggest fucking pussies. And that motherfucker bit Charles, hate them jokes.
Yeah, and then he grabbed his head and cracked it and killed it, and it was really scary because that's this is really probably where Charles is going. But Danny, of course, Mr. Vanilla Ice Cream is like, look, everybody has you think they're a piece of shit, but it is what it is. And I do love this part because Stephanie's like, look, DJ, you know what it's like to hang out with some dumbass fucking hanger on that sucks, that fucking is a piece of shit. You know who we're talking about. And Gibbler's standing there like, chewing her fingernails. And DJ's like, okay, well, sometimes people that look shitty and are shitty, when you get to know them, they're not as shitty, something like that. But in comes Charles now, I believe.
Yeah.
Now Charles is like, Stephanie's like, "Oh, hey, good to see you, Charles," just to be polite. And he's like, "Yeah, I wish I could say the same for you, bitch." And like faces the bitch.
Ew.
Yeah. And then Danny comes over. He cracks. I forget what does he say to Danny? Because he's like, I mean, he just fucking annihilates him too, verbally. So they go
Tough crowd.
upstairs. And this is where this episode takes a turn, Steve. And it's almost it's to me, it made me laugh as far as a reveal goes. But Stephanie or Charles are starting their little thing. Charles is still being shitty. Michelle comes in and is like, Stephanie, you are in big trouble because you forgot to take out the trash again. And Stephanie's like,
That's
okay, whatever. And Charles is like, dang. This is basically what he said. He's like, man, you know what? If you're gonna get beat right now, because that's what happened with me. Maybe throw on some Roger Rabbit and go to your own happy place, because that's what I do when I'm getting beat on. And Stephanie's like, wait, what?
whoa. Let's rewind the tape, fella.
Basically, Charles hears that she did that and is like, damn, you are gonna take the biggest ass whooping of all time.
And Stephanie's like, no, my dad is real milk toast. Like, he doesn't hit a fly. Like, my dad's never hit me. It's like, oh man, you must be lucky. Well, shit.
She's like, wait, does your dad hit you? Yeah, I think so. I think he basically acknowledged that. And Charles now is like, yo, you can't tell a fucking soul about this. Don't tell anybody. You got to swear. And then he like looks, and I mean, this is where I mean, I don't know how strict the dad is. He's doing a school project, but he's like, oh shit, I'm like 5 minutes late. I gotta go. I'm gonna take I can't get that ass whooping.
Man. Before we had Beats by Dre, there were Beats by Dad. And like, this is a strict dad who we never see. He's like Maris or Urkel's parents. And
he's in a stand-up freezer at back of the house, hitting a big ass thing of beef, wait for his son to come home. Like, that motherfucker. Fuck.
Well, the thing that I laughed at that I probably should not have is when Stephanie asked him, like, so that time you came in the classroom with a black eye and you said you ran into a door. He was like, yeah, a door named Dad. Oh, that shouldn't be funny, but hey, we're fucking assholes. What can I do?
He's gonna be a stand-up comedian someday, Steve, or one of those like spoken word people that's doing poetry. Like, when was it enough, Dad? I was just a kid.
Was this ever enough for you?
1, 2, 3 punches to the face.
All right, man. So, and another thing is Mrs. Patterson is very fucking naive. Like, because the next day in class, we find out Charles couldn't make it to class because apparently he ran down or fell down the stairs.
Because all you gotta do is make an excuse, Steve. It's like, hey, Charles' dad, can I speak to you real quick? There's a fish-shaped bruise on your son's eye. He says that he fell into the couch. And I'm just wondering, can you just elaborate on that? And he's like, no, that's what happened. She's like, well, checks out. See ya. Bye, Charles. Be careful.
I'm just here to get a check. Fuck these kids. She's either naive.
In San Fran, she's got to make that money, Steve. She's a fucking public school teacher, so she's got to. She's probably fucking the dad. Anywho, so Charles rushes out. Stephanie's left here. She's promised this kid that she's not going to tell anybody. So now there's a dilemma going here. We cut to the school the next day. Stephanie sees the Jennifers again. They've moved on to a new fashion, we see. Stephanie's rocking yesterday's fashion, and they flame her for that because, denim, that was Monday, bitch.
Yeah, so
with the
yesterday.
shits. Go to Gap and buy that new shit. And Stephanie's a little agitated. I think that she says something about Charles not being there, and the Jennifers are like, fucking good riddance, that fucking piece of fucking chud. She's like, he's not a chud.
Yeah. It's like,
okay,
you must
all right.
like him or something?
Fucking kiss last night, but she's like, okay, but the teacher comes in, Charles is nowhere to be found, and the teacher's like, hey, Stephanie, we're gonna have to get you another partner because Charles, he had an accident, so he's not gonna be in class for a week maybe. I forget what I think he fell down the steps this time, Steve. He fell down the steps.
Into a haymaker.
Yeah, I mean he fell into an uppercut, but like you said, but a week. What was it? Because he was 5 minutes late. I mean, what kind of ass whooping is this guy laying into? Is this Chris Benoit? Is that his dad?
Victory. Hadouken!
He's gonna cross face me, okay? I gotta go. Perry Saturn's my dad. He keeps headbutting.
He's cross-eyed and he's crazy. And back at the Tanner home, Danny finds out that his phone billeth hath runneth over. And he grills people about it, like, man, who did this shit? Who ran my phone bill up? Was it you, Joey? You always doing some fuck shit, Joey, with you and your little woodchuck. Nah, man, you think I'm always doing some, like I live in your basement and shit? Yeah.
Stop calling 1-800-900 BLK girls, Steve. Fucking Joey. We get it. You're into it. We all are, but you can't. You don't even know who you're talking to.
And Michelle basically rats on herself as she's preparing to tell one of those corny jokes to her dad. He basically spoils it and does the punchline. And he's like, "Oh, so it was you calling Funny Buddy."
Bitch.
Funny Buddy. Yeah.
And Danny makes Denise, he gets Joey to take her home. And he's like, look, Michelle, you're cute and all, but this is crazy. Did you know that this was wrong? And Michelle's, I mean, is at least honest and is like, yeah, I knew it was wrong. And he's like, well, why'd you do it? One of these conversations. And he's really just sort of sticking it to Michelle. And he, for once, sticks up to the cuteness. And he's like, look, I'm going to punish you because this is some bullshit. I can't, now I'm going to have to go on fucking Good Morning Whatever, hawk some shit to pay for this bill that you got on my phone. And you're going to go to bed an hour early for a week. And Michelle, being the fucking badass she is, just stomps out eventually. He's like, man, fuck, man, I hate you.
Hate you too, little girl. And as she goes into her room, she's talking about how dad's a big meanie, and Steph checks her. Like, you can't be doing that. Like, it could be way worse. You could be getting fist kisses every night. You could be getting laid out and strung out and choked. And then Jesse walks in and he's like, hey, Michelle, I need to have a one-on-one sesh with your sister.
Yeah, Jesse, she's talking shit about dad, but we all know dad he could be ground and pounding us until we go to sleep. This is crazy. And Jesse's like, yo, what the fuck? Did you watch a movie? Is HBO on the shits?
Yeah. Where's this energy coming from?
And she's been sworn to secrecy, Steve. She can't tell anybody. You can't. But Jesse's like, look, there's exceptions to everything. Sure, you're supposed to pay for everything at the grocery store. But when there's a line, maybe sometimes you put something in your pocket. You just got to save some time. Maybe, you fucking whatever. Just tell me what's going on. Something's up. And eventually Stephanie's like, look, dude is getting the shit whooped out of him by his dad. But don't tell anybody. Just keep it on the DL for me, okay? And Jesse can't do that, Steve.
It's like, man, Jesse's about that action. It's like, well, shit. This is the last time somebody puts their hands on Charles. I got to do something about it. So he's about to pick up the horn. And she's like, no, I sworn to secrecy on the dead homies. I'd never do it.
Fuck a dead homie. I'm calling the Rockers up right now. Hey, get in the van. We got some justice to lay out.
We got a new gig.
But Jesse is he's going to be a good dad. Great uncle. I mean, this guy, I don't want a sexy guy like this in my house just because you're probably going to have a lot of loose women, drugged up chicks. But as far as being like a dad and having good advice, he lays it down for Stephanie. And he's like, look, I got to make this call because as bad as you think this is now, he's just making it worse. You're only making this worse for this kid. So he does get on the horn, calls somebody. I'm assuming, Child Protective Services. It's not the Rockers, which I was disappointed, or the Rippers or whatever, or even the Beach Boys for that matter. You know, maybe they got some people. You could call some security for them. But we cut to like a week later, Steve. It's a week later. Michelle's, she's not calling 1-900 numbers. She's just, making her own jokes. She's writing her own material. Stephanie walks in. It's been a week and Charles is still not in class. So either he is in a coma from another ass whooping because Jesse called the cops, or something's up.
Yeah. Only thing she knows is he gone. And as she's returning home with Jesse, we find out that child welfare took Charles and put him in a foster family. And Steph spazzes out on Jesse. Like, he's supposed to stay in his own home where he continues to get beaten. How could you? I can't trust you anymore.
Could you just get him some proper training, some self-defense? Maybe a baseball bat? Like, why does he have to be away from his home? And Jesse's like, look, this is the best thing. We put him in the foster system. We all know the foster system's perfect. Nothing bad's going to happen to this kid. He's going to live a great life with the foster family. Not like some shit in The Wire, more like some shit in like Angels in the Outfield, where it's like a sweet old lady taking you to baseball games. But here's my gripe with the episode, Steve, because this is basically this is how it ends. Jesse's like, hey, we're here. You did a good job. You did a good thing. Charles, hope he's okay. Let's forget all that and go have some pizza. Shoo-ba-doo ba ba now. But we don't there's like, I don't know if Charles ever comes back, is in charge of anything. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Charles, but he gone, Steve.
He gone. Charles was never in charge. And like, shout out to the 2 medium pizzas that Danny got for this huge ass family.
Yeah, dude. Come on. And that ain't even the good shit, dude. Get a Bigfoot pizza or some shit from Pizza Hut. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah, with some stuffed crust or something, some extra filling. Damn, man. Danny, I know like you getting bigger checks on the Anchorman show, whatever the fuck. But yeah, that Miller Boyette music hits and you just forget about everything. Everything's all right.
It is. Charles is getting beat on by some fucking convict kid in a San Francisco area foster home. Like the fucking guy, like the colonel and the Boogie Nights at the end. He's just getting bitch slapped and crying in a corner. So
this isn't like when my real dad beat me. Somebody who probably wasn't watching this episode.
He said he loved me once.
Let's get it out.
Oh, okay, let me get it out. I'm sorry. Child beating. It's not funny anymore, Steve. We're good.
Yeah, it is. It's not. It's not.
No,
but somebody who probably wasn't watching Full House 1993 was Tupac Shakur, because he released his second album, Strictly for My Niggaz, because I don't like using that word around my white friends. And but maybe he was watching it. Maybe he was celebrating Full House, watching Full House. He's like, yeah, drinking on my Hennessy, watching Michelle, DJ, and Stephanie.
Nice.
Riding down on my enemies.
Charles, my enemy. Charles, dad, my enemy.
And I like this album. This is him crossing over from an underground rapper. You know, he was very thoughtful in his debut album. Brenda Had a Baby. It was socially conscious, socially responsible. And, you know, he's slowly going into the commercial side of things, because this is the same album that has Keep Your Head Up. It has I Get Around, pop, 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 which is very poppy and still a classic to this day, man. Strictly for My Niggaz. Yeah, man.
Dude, Head Up is such a nasty song. I love that song, dude. That's a chill ass smoke song. Hell yeah, dude. Such a good smoke song.
Child, things are gonna get. And yeah, man, I think this is the album before my favorite Tupac album is the one that had Dear Mother, and I cannot call the name of it for the life of me.
Not All Eyes on Me, the double?
No, that's the one after that, the one I'm trying to think of.
That's my favorite Tupac. And I mean, how can you not like the double disc and California Love and shit? Like, I mean, that's like the most commercial, and
It's
you know.
No doubt, man. That's like one of the, I don't know, pinnacle albums. Me Against the World. That's my favorite Tupac album.
Okay.
Nothing but me, it's just me against the world. But 1995, Martin is airing season 3, episode 18, All the Players Came. Martin hosts the 70s contest, and it's Antonio Fargas, Isaac Hayes, Rudy Ray Moore, Outkast, Coolio, and Pam Grier, and other guest stars as themselves.
It's just a fucking all-star. This is a simple, great episode of Martin, and you get some like just some great cameos in this. One of which, if I was on set, I would have busted a nut, Steve. If I saw Pam Grier walking around looking like she did here, I legally I'm not allowed probably within a few like at least 50 yards of the woman after that. You know, it's
That's
one of
why
those.
Jerome jumped on her. I don't blame him. I get it.
Ooh, I just, but I love that this is third season to me. Arguably, I mean, it might not be. I think maybe number 2 is the best, but this is right up there. There's a lot of good episodes in this season.
And they said Isaac Hayes in the description, but I didn't clock him on this episode, man. But there is a lot of Black Star power from people of yesteryear. And we start off in the barbershop, and we find out that Mr. Mackey, who's the owner of Mackey's Theater, the neighborhood theater, is about to shut down. He's in jeopardy of having his theater shut down because he's behind on his payments. And Mr. Mackey is played by the late, great Whitman Mayo, who's most famously known as Grady on Sanford and Son. And yeah, Whitman Mayo is a legend. And, you know, as he's leaving, Martin is like, man, dude, this is our shit, man. We grew up going to this theater. We can't just let this theater fall to the wayside, man. We got to do something about it. And he's quick to action.
I love it. He's like, I saw Foxy Brown here. I got a boner for the first time in this theater. We can't let this shit die. And also, Mr. Mackey is literally one of the sweetest old men of all time in this episode. Just
Definitely.
like seems like the nicest person of all time. So now Martin, Tommy, Cole, Shag guy at the barber shop that I love. That dude's a baller. I want that haircut. I never could pull it off, but they got to save this place. So we cut to Martin's apartment, and he's there with everybody, Pam, Gina, his boys, and he's like, look, we got to save this place. And they sort of get this plan formulated where he's like, you know what? I came up with a nice plan here. We're going to have a players ball in Detroit, make some money off it, save this place. Boom. That's all it takes, Steve. And that's all it takes.
Look at you, like a young Lou Ross, dog. And then Pam calls him Lou Smalls. He's like, I wasn't even talking to you, Scary J. Blige. Yeah, I'm gonna get Antonio Fargas. I'm gonna get Rudy Ray Moore, and I'm gonna get Pam Grier. I'm like, bro, you got some connections, man. For
yeah,
a brother
these
who
all
just got...
do they all live in Detroit right now, or like how the fuck you got your finger on the pulse? I do also like he's like trying to get everybody to chip in. He's like, look, Gina, you good? You guys do this. Pam, and she's like, oh hell no, I'm not helping you do shit because you always saying shit. And he's like, man, you gotta chill out. I'm just trying to get you to get Cujo, your buddy Cujo, to come to the fucking shit with you. And I mean, the fucking cracks just keep coming. We cut back to the barbershop. This is like a set that became like further on in the show is like more of a common thing. So they're hanging out. They're just like talking about shit. And we see that what's his name? Antonio Fargas is just fucking, he like reveals himself in a cool way. He's got like a towel on. He comes up looking player fabulous, playalistic, just out there. And he's, you know, he's just being a fucking badass, talking shit. Basically just like, you know what, I don't know who the competition is, but it ain't none of you fucking ugly pieces of shit. So he does his thing, and then Jerome shows up, Steve, and we all know who the true play is in this town, you know?
The player of the year is in it to win it, because I'm about to take the crown in about a minute.
And they get into like some snapping on each other, but eventually at this point, Antonio's like, "Man, your dentist fucked your face up," and so he points out, and Jerome gets a little so he's like, "Ow, he fucked up the grill."
You figured in a fraud and a part-time broad.
Oh,
Yeah, I can
Jerome,
relate,
dude.
Jerome. I gotta get my grill fixed. And man, he is making shit happen in no time, this Martin. All within a week. He's already got the whole shit set up, and he is able to bring in Outkast, who's brand spanking new to the scene at this time. They just dropped their album, their debut, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Funkin' Music, and they're performing "Get Up, Get Out, and Get Something." How you gonna get it if you never even try? You need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't spend the times of your life getting high.
I mean, they
Something.
look like they straight up came out of like a high school class to do this concert, dude. They look so young, which is super cool to see, dude. I mean, what did we say?
Yeah.
This is 95?
90. This is 94,
This is
95. Yeah.
95. So it's just wild to think that they've been around that long. I mean, obviously they're that good, but it is cool to see them as like young dudes in this and just on the come up. Um, and we also see, the guests, Steve. Everybody starts showing up. So fuck the judges and everything. Coolio just shows up with a couple of skills himself, looking straight up fabulous. So and
From that fantastic voyage.
oh yeah, dude. And then, dude, Pam Grier shows up. That I don't know how she wasn't like kicking dudes off her, like coming into the building, just off the streets of Detroit. But in this white dress, the afro, the fucking titties, man, all
Look
of
at the
it. Just,
titties.
I mean, this is Pam Grier before a Jackie Brown, just getting the respect she deserves. I don't know, I wasn't really cognizant of her as much when I was younger, like before I found out about Jackie Brown. But like at this point in time in her career, Steve, I don't really remember her being in a lot of shit. Was she just like sort of living off her legacy of being this beautiful, like iconic woman from like old school movies, or was she like being put in stuff?
For the most part, yeah, she was kind of in that realm. And I remember there was a movie with a lot of those blaxploitation people that came out around this time in the 90s called Original Gangsters. And
Oh
if I'm
shit.
not mistaken, it was Jim Brown, she was in it, Fred Williamson was in it, people of that nature. And yeah, I'm sure she was making her money off of maybe conventions and blaxploitation conventions, maybe, or just making appearances.
I
There's
mean,
always that.
I missed my shot. When I lived in Hollywood, there's a place called the Egyptian that's just like a theater that they do events at and stuff that looks really cool. But she had a biography that she put out. This was probably like 2010s somewhere early. And she was doing like signing, and I was like, fuck, I had no money. I couldn't even afford to buy the book to get it signed. But I was like, fuck, I'd just like to just tell her she's beautiful. Just say something. Like try to make
Yeah.
a mark.
And Cole, well, damn, bro, you did miss an opportunity.
I did. I
Oh,
mean, this was then, but even now, man, I know she's getting older, but she just is one of those people, especially after I found out about Jackie Brown and started to like really go back and explore like those older like blaxploitation movies. I mean,
yeah.
dude, just such a hottie, dude. Her back in like the 70s Foxy Brown style, put that up against anybody now. For real. Like look it up.
And Cole, he wishes Walona from Good Times would walk in. And sure enough, Janet Dubois, who also played Grandma on the Wayans Brothers and a lot of other things, she was actually the singer in the Jeffersons theme song. So she's a mover, a primetime player herself, man. And they get to flirting, and Cole walks her to her seat. And the MC of this event is played by Dick Anthony Williams, and I remember him as Diamond's father in Players Club. He was the guy like that was threatening Jamie Foxx when they were going on a date, like, yeah, I care about my daughters a lot, what you plan on doing with my daughter. That's that guy. And
Hell
he
yeah,
he's been
dude.
in a lot of other shit. But yeah, we got Dick Anthony Williams, Janet Dubois, Pam Grier, and one of the contestants is Rudy Ray Moore, famously known as Dolomite. Have you ever seen Dolomite or any of the variances?
I saw Dolomite and I started watching that thing Eddie Murphy made where it was sort of like an homage to that Rudy Ray Moore. I think it was like a
Yeah,
biopic about him.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I've seen it. Dolomite's not necessarily my favorite. My favorite one is the one with like, oh, what is it? Not the Mac.
Shaft,
No, Shaft too. I mean, it's hard to tell. I like the one where the guy's like, "Hey, baby, it's all you, baby. Let's go to the moon,
Superfly.
baby." Hell yeah, dude, that one. And pretty. I mean, in this, dude's name is Pretty Tony, and he is. I mean, dude, I wish I could look like this. Just like like some of these guys, like were they just like getting Wilt Chamberlain numbers and just unsung heroes? Because Pretty Tony was dipping his pen in some ink. Let
They
me
were
tell
rappers
you.
before rappers, man. And like Dolomite is it was ridiculous, man. I don't know how familiar you are, but it was Bollywood meets black exploitation. Like Dolomite would do these outrageous things that just are physically impossible. He would jump from the ground onto like a 20-foot balcony to slap a motherfucker. A cop a, he would be 5 foot in front of a cop. The cop would shoot at his face, and he would just turn into Neo all of a sudden and do some time warp shit, and like would pimp slap the bullet, like little
Hell yeah.
crazy shit.
Did
It
you
was
ever
very
see
cartoonish.
Black Dynamite with Michael Jai White?
Yes,
Yeah. And I mean a lot of these guys were actually in that too, but that movie was sort of to me a great homage. I mean, it was sort of on a scary movie level of spoofness, but it was,
yeah,
of this type of playa like pimp movies from back in these black exploitation movies that were all super ridiculous in their own ways, for whatever reason. Um,
It-
but the thing I like about Rudy Ray Moore that I don't remember much about that biopic, but it was just like he was sort of a Robert Rodriguez type dude that was just like, look, I'm gonna make something. Like I can make some shit. It just might not. I don't got a budget, so I'm gonna, we'll get it done. So that
yeah.
kind of shit I always respect. That's what I love about that style and like time in movies in general. People are just like, I got a good idea. Let's fucking figure it out. Some trauma shit.
And the first contest is each of you players say your best line or whatever. Rudy Ray Moore says, "Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all." And Antonio Fargas, he says, "Ant dog in the house, ant dog in the house, diggity diggity house."
Just biting off the shit, Steve. I
What
mean,
the
this is
fuck?
some Carlos Mencia level of fucking stealage. I don't like that.
How
But
dare you?
but I do like Jerome's player call because he's like, "Oh, you want to hear my call?" And he breaks out the little Gordon Gecko brick and is like, "What's the matter? You can't call me?" And just hangs the shit up and walks away. And I like that, Steve. And also at this time, a brick phone, that's showing some real player status because that shit cost a grip of money. So shout out.
Since me and you can't get it along, let's get it on. And Rudy Ray Moore, I like this one better. He's like, fine and uptight and not a sight. I'm divine and guaranteed to blow your mind. And not in line, baby.
I like at this point because the second shit is like the second round is the best player strut. Well, you got to have that little gangster walk and everything. But before we
Yeah.
can even get to it, there's like this salty guy in the crowd that just starts like heckling Pretty Tony. He's like, "Man, shut up, man." And Pretty Tony's like, "Boy, you better shut your mouth when you're talking to an adult." And some like old black
Better,
dude shit.
better learn to shut your mouth when grown folks is talking. You hear? Yeah. And that
Go
guy,
suck my
the
dick
player hater,
standing up, little boy. I'm gonna whoop that ass. But the
yeah.
guy is like super aggro about it, and he's got like a glitter jacket or something. I just remember him like shining a little bit.
And that guy is from the group Full Force, from the House Party movies. He was one of the bully guys that was
Okay.
always like tormenting kid. And there's a talent contest in the next round. Dolomite's playing a violin, and it looks like the panel of judges aren't feeling that shit. They're like, hard pass. Antonio Fargas, he has a ventriloquist act with a hoe doll, and his little hoe is like, what was he saying to the doll?
I don't remember what it was. Just like pimps. He's like, "Bitch, man, where's my money at, bitch?"
Yeah.
And then Jerome comes up, and he's gonna croon Steve. to Pam, and Pam, being usually the only
PG.
Pam in the room, Gina and Pam is like, "Oh my God, Jerome," and he's like, "Nah, you junk. I'm talking to Sheba, baby." And he starts singing "I Want to Get Next to You," as only Jerome can, Steve. And Pam, at first I feel like Pam Grier was sort of feeling it, like that big yuck mouth gold tooth, and then Jerome had to shoot his shot. He got a little bit touchy, Steve.
He couldn't fight that temptation to jump in them bounds.
I wanna get next to you. Again, I love it, dude.
And it comes down to Antonio Fargas and Jerome. And the final round or whatever is what would you do to change the world? And Antonio Fargas says, since the world is mine already, I wouldn't change anything. Y'all just get some squirrels trying to get on these chestnuts. And I feel like because it's Fox, they had to use chestnuts.
Yeah, hell yeah. They had to, like, that was the one thing they gave to the censors. They were like, all right, we still got to have Antonio Fargas say, "Give me my money, bitch," to the puppet, though. He's hitting a puppet. It's fine. So we're all some squirrels trying to get some chestnuts, Steve. But Jerome, he has to think about it for a second. I like a guy he's not just spitting some bullshit out. He takes a second. He's like, I gotta think about it, and then he just sort of gives his presidential speech. Steve, Cadillacs all 27 feet long, diamond in the back, sunroof top.
Dig in the scene with the gangster lane. Woo woo.
And so first, before the winners announced, I think we all know who's going to win this. But before we get to that, we find out that Martin did it. Steve, he's nowhere to be found. Obviously, Jerome's here. So, but they did it. They've raised enough money. Mr. Mackey's theater, it's alive and well. Mr. Mackey comes out. He's happy. He can barely talk.
He's elated.
And he's like, look, anybody here? You order a popcorn, butter's on me.
Pause.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a sexual euphemism or not, but if nothing else, you're getting some free butter on that popcorn. I respect that. I like that.
Some butter with your Whitman mayo.
He winked at Pam Grier when he said it, though. So I think maybe that's, that was some other shit. But now we know. Now it's drum roll, Steve. Who won?
Jerome Rome from the Himalayas.
And I like Jerome. He has the ultimate, like, Shawn Michaels-esque pimp lean pose. And as he's posing, Steve, and basking in the glory of being, I think, the world's number one player, or at least Detroit's number one, Antonio Fargas pays the respect, lays the cape, the fur, whatever that shit is, on his back, and steps back and just lets the king really just, take it in. The new champion.
Kiss the rings, man. And then going out, we have Outkast performing the players tell you I'm a player.
Play his balls, Steve. I mean, they say this shit. They were meant to be in this episode. And they take it out. Pam Grier's twerking in the background, and everybody's just having a great time. Martin and Gina can still be in the room together. This is just great times in Detroit.
Man.
Pay Pam Grier. We love you.
OG, triple OG, PG. In 1996, February 16th, City Hall premiered in theaters. The accidental shooting of a boy in New York leads to an investigation by the deputy mayor and unexpectedly far-reaching consequences. Directed by Harold Becker, starring Al Pacino, John Cusack, Bridget Fonda, Danny Aiello, and David Paymer, and Martin Landau.
A lot of hitters in this.
Yeah, it is, man. A lot of...
This is like one of those movies like
actors.
Pelican Brief or something, where some of these legal movies really shot up. They took off, in the 90s. People love this shit.
I like a good one. To me, this wasn't one. I
Nah.
guess it got decent reviews. It's just boring to me. I love some Al Pacino. John Cusack is cool. Bridget Fonda, I liked her better when she was Dirty Cocaine Girl and Jackie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Aiello, he's Sal. Hey man, why you ain't got no black faces on this wall, Sal? I love it. But City Hall, the title's boring. It's bland as fuck. The motion, the way the action, like there's not much action. It's like a lot of dialogue after dialogue after dialogue. It just lulled me to sleep.
It's like a cake recipe, Steve. I mean, you could give you and me the same ingredients. Come out, sometimes the shit's fucked up because they don't know what they're doing. So in this case, they had all the ingredients. They were there. Even just a couple of them. A Danny Aiello and Al Pacino in the same movie. Just those two should get you at least a serviceable movie. But for whatever
At
reason,
least.
dude, blow it up. City Hall, blow this shit up.
Yeah, man. 6.2 on the M Dubs, which I don't
City
know,
Hall,
man.
more like Shitty Hall. Am I right?
Hey yo.
Hey, did I call the funny bunny line or funny buddy line, Steve? Shit.
Yeah.
God damn it. I got a fucking phone charge. Fuck.
And would you believe Al Pacino turned down the role of Detective Somerset in Seven? He was going to play in Seven. He turned that down to be in this shitty hall.
Man, to think about that, then, what a different movie that would have been. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it would even, I don't even see how that works.
With him in Seven?
Great ass. He's in that one where the guy fucked the hooker to death. He's just like, hey man, that's not cool. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. That's wild to think though that he would have been Morgan Freeman's character in that. Just like, I guess I get he could have toned it down a little bit. I guess that's weird.
Him and a younger Brad. And
What's in the box? I don't know, kid. Okay, no.
open it. Hoo-ha. In 1996, that same day when Shitty Hall was released, Happy Gilmore premiered in theaters. A rejected hockey player puts his skills to the golf course to save his grandmother's house. Directed by Dennis Dugan, starring Adam Sandler, Christopher McDonald, Julie Bowen, and Carl Weathers.
This is when the Adam Sandler brand was just, this was when the wine was just at its peak, Steve. This is the year you want to be drinking that Adam Sandler wine because, pause, that sounded weird, but this is one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. The ridiculousness, the weird cutaways, even at the beginning, something I always it makes me laugh so much is when he's trying to get his girl back and he thinks that
Yeah.
she's listening to him on like the little like buzzer. So he starts singing like I wanna kiss you all over and over and again. And then that Asian lady walks. And he
It,
fucks an Asian lady, Steven, you know. That's
hey,
just a small sampling of what you got in store here. You got a ridiculous Ben Stiller as the aggro guy at the nursing home who tells the grandma to have a nice glass of shut the fuck up.
yeah,
Now you will go to
man,
sleep or I will put you to sleep.
that might be the funniest thing he's done to me, man.
Dude,
And
honestly, that and his character in the movie Heavyweights are two of the greatest roles that he's ever played. But this one, he's only in it for like 2 minutes tops, but he really nails it, knocks it out of the park.
he's actually not even credited in this role. And the scene where he fights Bob Barker in this movie, it was initially going to be Ed McMahon.
Yep. I did
Yeah,
know that. I know Bob wasn't the first choice, but he nailed this. I mean, I feel like this was like something that really he was already famous, but man, he got a pop off this like no other, you
he did,
know?
he found a newfound following within the college demographic, because I mean, college students were probably, I'm sure, like Adam Sandler movies are right up their alley. We loved this shit then, and we still do. And so more people started watching Price is Right in that age group, man. And he actually wasn't going to do it until they told him that he was going to win the fight with Adam Sandler. And he was like, all right, I'm all in. And he actually did his own stunts. So shout out
Price is
Bob Barker.
right. The price is wrong, Bob. Price is
Wow.
right, bitch. Yeah, so
And
this one though, I there's nothing bad to be said. I mean, everybody that does a performance, Kevin Nealon in it for 5 seconds, annihilates it. The weird little white kid who's his caddy the first time, he might not even say more than 2 words. He's hilarious in it for whatever reason. Uh, the guy, his boss that he put the nail in, fucking what's his face from James Bond,
The big giant guy with metal mouth.
and Shooter McGavin. That's the other moment that always makes me laugh. They're watching like the final tournament. Shooter McGavin hits like an errant ball, and he's looking for it, and he walks up, and it's on this like huge foot, and the guy's like, "Your ball struck my foot," and the Shooter McGavin goes, "Oh, good job, mom, mom, oh my god!" And sees how big this I mean, every Shooter McGavin also is one of the best like comedic movie villains of all time.
I agree.
When he loses it, he's like, "I saw 2 big fat naked bikers off in the woods off 17 having sex in the woods. How am I supposed to putt when that's going on?"
And he actually turned down the role, according to him, several times because he didn't want to be typecast as the antagonist. But it's like Christopher McDonald, you just have that punchable face that makes people want to see you lose.
He's always this is such a good character for him to play because I mean, maybe he didn't want that to happen, but it did happen because you're that good. Remember that movie House Arrest where the kids lock their parents in the basement? He basically plays Shooter McGavin if he was a dad. Like he's just an asshole dad in the movie,
In Dirty Work, he was Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, he's great at it. And I don't know. It's just funny when you hear people like, "Oh, I didn't want to do that. I'm too good. I'm an actor." It's like, bitch, you should be so lucky to be Shooter McGavin the rest of your life.
Motherfucker, if you don't go ahead and collect this check. And the fighting scene with Bob Barker, that was the first MTV Best Fight Award. They won the what do you call it, the first time
popcorn shit, or no, was it the popcorn or was it the spaceman or some shit? I forget.
The Spaceman, I think, is for
Video Music Awards. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, for the film awards, they give them the popcorn.
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit? Am I right? One last thing that always makes me laugh is when he's like, Shooter McGavin and him are talking in like a bar, and Shooter McGavin's like saying something to him. He's like, he says something, and fucking Adam Sandler just grabs a beer bottle and is like, "You want to go, dude?" He's like, "Dude, what the fuck?"
And like, let's not forget Carl Weathers and that fucking hand. That hand was fucking hilarious, man.
Hey,
like,
that
so
alligator
obvious.
that got your hand? I got his head. Oh! Happy? Don't be sad about me, Happy. He just, dude, the end. I mean, when he's playing the piano and shit. I mean, dude, you've only just begun to live. I mean, Carl Weathers, man. How talented is Carl Weathers, by the way?
But on that same day in 1996, Mr. Wrong premiered in theaters. A lonely single woman finds the seemingly perfect man to date, but soon regrets it when his deranged, possessive other personality emerges, and she cannot convince anyone else of his Jekyll and Hyde true nature. Directed by Nick Castle, starring Ellen DeGeneres, Bill Pullman, Joan Cusack, Dean Stockwell, and Joan Plowright.
This sounds like it could be a horror movie, honestly, but it's a comedy with Ellen DeGeneres. And it doesn't sound like something you or I ever watched, Steve.
It probably does come across as a horror if you watch it now. Spoiler alert, all men are gonna be Mr. Wrong for Ellen DeGeneres. Like, how the fuck are you gonna convince me that like she's somebody's bride, a dude's bride, when we all know she likes brides?
She's having like a conversation with her maid of honor, like, it's like whenever you have sex and you just puke afterwards because you're disgusted because it was awful and men suck. You're like, wait, I don't. Mr. Wrong.
The producer's like,
he's a lesbian and he's a guy who thinks he's getting married. Mr. Wrong.
Yeah, the girl who likes girls. Yeah, we're gonna make her a bride. Yeah, we're gonna convince you. then yeah, she's gonna marry a guy.
Get me Bill Pullman. I'd rather have Paxton, but give me Bill Pullman. He's available.
Yeah, Mr. Wrong, the movie. 1996, on that same day, Muppet Treasure Island premieres. The Muppets twist on the classic tale, directed by Brian Henson, starring Tim Curry, Steve Whitmire, Jerry Nelson, Kevin Clash, and Frank Oz.
Kevin Clash. This is when I was Muppet Christmas Carol was really the last one that I paid attention to. This was it's too much, Steve. I was
What?
trying to watch Playboy Channel, like garbled Playboy Channel at this point, so I was out. I was out of this one.
Well, at the time I was out, but as an adult and with Weeds and a HBO Max account, I was able to watch it last weekend, and
Okay.
it's decent. It's decent. It's actually the most successful Muppet movie of all time. Yeah.
Wow, Muppet Christmas Carol, not. That's crazy to think. I would have thought that would have been the one, but maybe you're right. Maybe I need to go back, Steve. Maybe I need to get a bigger joint to smoke and really just put myself into a near coma level of high and just take this in.
Uh, well, Tim Curry, he even says this is his favorite role. It's one of his favorite roles
Okay, I was like his best role. Jesus Christ, Tim. You played
because he's a
the
huge fan.
devil in fucking Legend. I mean, you've played so many. You were in everything. You were in Home Alone too. Okay.
Duh. Winning.
And after Jim Henson's death, Rolf the dog, he was not recast for several years because he was considered the closest character to Henson's actual personality, even more so than Kermit. And in this movie, we actually see Rolf, but he doesn't have a speaking scene. He's only seen in the first scene, and
That's kind of
the
cool though that they did that. That's pretty dope that they were like they just had they paid homage to him in that way. They're like, this guy, he reminds us of him. Let's take him off the shelf for a while. And you said who
uh,
directed this? It's his brother, right?
Brian Henson,
Yeah,
I believe Brian Henson is his son, if I'm not mistaken.
that's even cooler. That's awesome.
I don't want to lie on this podcast.
Yeah, you do, Steve. You're
He is
telling
the son
kids.
of puppeteers Jim and Jane Henson.
So sick, dude. Jim Henson, Jane, they gave their progeny. I love that word. I just came up with that word. I think that I used that correctly, but their seed continued the legacy. That's awesome. Of
He
puppetry.
has to.
Yeah, do you think he was into it or he was like, I hate this shit?
I mean, for him to be dedicated after his father's passing, man, he'd had to love it, man. This was like bringing in a lot of dough for his family. I mean, as a Muppet fan, especially as a kid, like I would lose my mind.
Is your to me because here's my thing, and this might be sacrilege to people who really give a fuck, but to me, the best Muppet the Muppet product I love the most, Muppet Babies, which is not in any
Oh
way
yeah,
a physical thing, but to me, that's the best version. I like
I
the
agree.
the the shit like the old two old guys in the theater. I like all that classic shit, and but to me, the show is the best. But I'm gonna go check this out, Steve. You talked me into it. You're a good salesman.
I try, man.
You did it.
In 1997, WWF is airing the pay-per-view In Your House 13, Final Four, and in the final match, it's a fatal four-way between Undertaker, Big Van Vader, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Bret Hart.
Big
And
Van Vader, who in that picture was just kicked in the nuts. Um, Fucking, he looks crazy. So were they all fighting together, like in one ring, Steve? Is that what's
it,
going on in this four way? Pause.
it's all in one ring. They're all against each other, and I believe it was a no disqualification. In order to be eliminated, a wrestler could be pinned, forced to submit, or thrown over the top rope with both feet touching the floor. And it's funny to see that in 1997, for this pay per view, when Stone Cold comes out, there is no pop. It's the same music. It's the same guy. He's got his black tights. The character is there. The gimmick is there, and people are just not responding. And just a year after this, in '98, it's full throttle. Austin Mania has exploded, man. It's just crazy to see that, man, that change, that shift in dynamic. And Bret Hart at this time, he's still getting a big pop. He's still considered a baby face. He's not fully gone over to the dark side yet and saying all that fuck America shit.
Well, I love that. I love that. As a Canadian, that's your like heel move. You're like, I hate America. Eh? Like,
That's
okay,
always the
Brett.
go-to.
Like, you're really laying it on thick. It's not like Sergeant Slaughter, who's with somebody speaking what I think is not gibberish Middle Eastern talk and waving flags and destroying flags. Um, but I like me some. First of all, Stone Cold Steve Austin's looking Jack City. This is him, like, I mean, straight up juice to the gills. Vader, like I said, I don't know who allowed him to take that photo and put it up in the poster, but they needed to be fired. And Undertaker, just looking was this is Paul Bearer Undertaker, obviously. So
No, it's not.
no, who's he with
Because
now?
Paul Bearer is with Vader at this point.
I wanted somebody more robust. That's weird. What I wonder what Paul Bearer like. There's no supernatural. Like, is Vader helping out at the
It's
crematorium or?
it's just being behind the monsters. He was always around the monsters, whether it's Taker, Kane, Mankind, or Vader.
Did he
And
ever have like a gimmick as like Paul Bearer, where he wasn't like painted white and making that weird voice? Like, did he ever have something else? You know,
before Percy Pringle, he was
Percy. Okay.
yeah. This is before WWF though, and I think Percy Pringle is his government name, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is he heir to the chip fortune? Possibly Pringles.
Man, don't have me lying to you.
Don't, Steve. Don't look it up. That was a ridiculous thing I just said. Paul Bearer is not the fucking.
Percy Pringle. Percy Pringle was his character. His government is William Alvin Moody.
William Alvin. William Alvin movie. I'm just gonna call him Wham from now on. Fucking Wham out there. Just is he living a good life, Steve? How's Wham doing?
Wham, he stopped living a good life in
Oh
2013,
no,
March
Paul.
5th. He lived to be 58. Died of a heart attack in Mobile, Alabama.
I mean, he was. I'm sure had some high cholesterol numbers, but love me some Paul
It's a
Bear,
sick sack.
Steve. Love me some Wham.
And Shawn Michaels was initially supposed to be in this event, but he vacated his title so he can find his smile again. It's that
Aww.
classic. I don't know if you're familiar with that promo he shot where he was the champ and he was going to do a little soul searching, and so he just dropped the title, and whoever won that match was going to be the winner. And Bret Hart, he won the match and he was crowned champion.
But we all know who is. Sean was out there trying to find his smile again, Steve, and I bet he did. He did, and it included Road Dogg, Billy Badass Gun, and fucking Triple H. That's
Hey,
what
Pinky's
happened. They
cute.
hung out. They smoked a couple of joints, and he's like, "Guys, I'm home. I love this. I feel so much better."
And watching this, like I didn't realize the origin of China. And I believe this is the debut of China because Triple H is having a match with Mark Mero, who's assisted by Sable, accompanied by Sable, who's kind of starting to take over the popularity contest between her and her husband. And
Yep.
during this match, Sable is getting choked out by a woman viciously in the audience. And at this point, she has no name. She's just like, "Oh my God, Sable, she's getting choked by this woman." And that woman would we find out would be China.
Yeah, China. I remember when they introduced her, and it was just like Jesus Christ. Because China like went through some like iterations where like at first she had like a Sergeant Slaughter chin and shit. You
Yeah,
know, that's really creepy, and I never want to see that.
either or.
Like if you woke up and that was looking at you, like you'd be like, "Oh God, you're dead" at that point.
Yep,
Um,
bye bye.
he has special people strength, and yeah, weird, weird stuff. Weird stuff. I like that Paul Bearer, even without the Undertaker, He's just got the urn, and he's just hanging out with Vader, eating French fries, and maybe there's gravy in that urn now. I don't know.
Yeah, high in fat and any callbacks, dingleberries or canker sores.
I just want to call out the demonic entities that are making the White Men Can't Jump remake. Uh, I'm going to have an exorcism. I'm going to release whatever demons are causing this. And hopefully, Steve, that movie never comes out because I feel like there are certain indicators of like the end of the world, pestilence, swarms of whatever, natural disasters. And I do think a remake of White Men Can't Jump starring Jack Harlow is actually one, it was foretold. Like, this is the beginning of the end. So we got to stop that.
Where is the originality, Hollywood?
I mean, anything. You just because there's an intellectual property that's available doesn't mean that you have to just redo it. Like I've read this article, Steve, the intellectual property of Batman, like just in general, in like a couple, like maybe I don't remember exactly when, but very soon that's just going to be up. It's just going to be public domain. So anybody can make a Batman movie at that point or use the
Any
character Batman. So, I don't know what's going on. Just because that's happening doesn't mean you have to stop it. Please stop it. And thank you. This is my Andy Rooney speech. You know what I hate? People making movies based on movies I love. But no, just stop it, guys. Jack Harlow, you're rich enough, dude. Just go play basketball. You film it, put it on TikTok, do whatever the fuck you guys do. Just don't call it White Men Can't Jump. And that is it. Steve, how about you?
In 1996, Hanging with Mr. Cooper's airing the episode Rivals, and that is a cameo from Jamie Foxx. And Jamie Foxx is the coach of another high school, and they're like the title says, rivals. And at some point, Jamie Foxx and Mr. Cooper, Mark Curry, they're having a cracking contest. Talking about each
Hell
other's
yeah.
mamas, and it's just very, how do I say it? It's uncomfortable to watch because it's getting no pop from the audience. Like
Oh
I
no,
guess
what?
I guess because it's a TJIF show, and I'm guessing it's middle-aged suburban moms, and they don't. Why are they talking so bad about each other's moms? I don't
That's
get it. I go
that's
like
just
nobody is
mean. That is not
like
nice.
it's just not moving the needle. But it's like, dude, it's Jamie Foxx and Mark Curry. So there's that, and also I feel as a nano influencer, it is our responsibility to drop a PSA from time to time. And this time around, women, men, don't hit kids. It's not cool.
Yeah. Go hit a pillow. But if a kid's 5-10 minutes late and has been studying, maybe just let him off with a light slap on the just a light slap at least. Let's limit the violence. Charles, if you're out there someplace, either you're a stand-up comedian or a serial killer. But
We're
we're,
dead.
yeah, or dead. Maybe your dad found you someplace and finished the job. But um, the more you know, Steve. Stop beating them kids. Da-na-na.
Oh, and I forgot. In 1997, Simpsons is airing Homer's Phobia. I'm sorry, Matt. I thought we was gonna wrap it up.
No,
We're
it's
almost
okay.
around the finish. We're almost around the corner,
We had
man.
to just let people know not to be kids. I mean, that doesn't mean we're done. We just want to let
Yeah,
everybody know. Stop it.
we had to drop that. And yeah, Homer's Phobia. I remember this because this is when Homer is suspecting her son to be gay. And John Waters makes a cameo. He's like their new neighbor or something like that. And Homer's hanging out with him. He's like, man, this guy is so cool, man. I like, and Marge is like, she's got her gaydar on. He's like, don't you think there's something festive about him? It's like, yeah, he's a party guy. He's the life of the party all the time. It doesn't clock until later. He just becomes this huge homophobe. And there's like this scene in a factory where all the workers like do this like village people kind of get up.
Sparking or sparks everywhere and shit.
Yeah, and hilarity ensues, man. But please, people, like, share, subscribe, and comment. And please tell your little sister she got to keep her head up. Ooh, child. Baby, I'm fed up. And please check out Over the Culture. It's going to come out eventually. Crushgasm on Wednesday. B3F podcast with Joey and Steve. And Don't Worry, B movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Matt G with Happen in
Happened
the
in the
90s.
90s.
Baby, I'm fed up.
Duh. Winning.